This is a coolant water header tank, and it is resiliently mounted. So remove the brake, pull the rear brake pull rod, just unscrews. This is I'll give this a polish, see what it's like, but I'll either replace it with chroma. Things like this end piece here, they're so cheap to buy, it's really not worth having them plated.
It comes in as glorious as it is, but you'll never be alone again. It's awful.
Brake lever, you see the chrome's coming off here. Again, they're pretty cheap, these. I'll have a see how much they are, but again, it may just simply be buying a new one rather than repair. So these ones have a brake indicator, which looks pretty rusty. I'll probably have that plated. Other ones have, this is blanked off here, but other ones, this is a port. You can take a rubber out and do an inspection. I'll be honest with you, neither way is particularly good. Just don't, if you do have this way though, just make sure you don't lose it. I think I have done in the past. So a lot of these, you just buy a standard switch because it's fitted to so many different types of bikes. On some of them there is a steel pull that goes between the brake pedal and the switch, and other ones it's just literally the switch itself. There are springs in there, there's lots of different designs. It's a case of buying something that's supposed to be right and then fiddling with it to get it right. Okay, I've never bought one and not had to mess about with it. So I've removed the circlip from the brake pedal. It won't come off because it's captured because of the frame. Okay, so I'll take the other pieces off. That doesn't sound right. I've removed the footrest frame, subframe, and that'll give me access then to remove the brake pedal. So these are aftermarket rear brake set, rear passenger footrests. They're quite corroded. Oxidised, I should say. He might polish out, but I don't think so. They were only really cheap, these things. And the thing that the woman said, it says it slightly weirdly, and it's funny because it says. So this was a mount for the exhaust. It's a resilient mount. So we'll check that rubber when we get it off. This is the front brake. The front footrest, and this one's sprung. It's got my knee in the way. This one's sprung. It differs from the other side. Okay, these are original, and they look okay.
And when I was all like, I just couldn't conceive of what that meant.
You can see these bolts are special bolts.
So hard, and she's like, yeah, I appreciate it.
You see those?
I already thought she was pretty.
So they are flange bolts. So they're the mounting bolts. So they are special type. I'll have a look at these. I may well have. See, the trouble is if you have these plated or chromed, you have a problem with the threads then. So I'll have a think about that. You can buy these. They're not particularly expensive, but I think this is supposed to be stainless steel. So while this is hanging here, I'll just remove this switch. You see this? Okay, so that's that switch. Okay. What's my knee in the way? So, they're the same? Yeah, they're the same. So, this brake pedal and the kickstart from memory should be olive drab passivated. So if you're not sure what that is, you galvanise parts and then you can actually change the colour slightly by passivating it. So for example, if you see the gold coloured bolts, that's actually yellow passivating of a galvanised. So when it was finished, it would have looked silver like you'd expect them to look, and then they put them in another process. I can actually do this myself. I've got the chemicals to do this. I can only do it really small scale, so if it's just not worth me sending a single part off, I'll do it myself. You can see that's how you set a split pin. So you keep one leg you don't touch and the other leg you just bend very slightly. You see these people who double both ends right the way around, and honestly, it's just amazing. Yeah, so that's the kickstart, and as you can see, it was black. It's never been the correct passivation, so that will be done correctly when it goes back. This is that footrest mount. You see, people do all sorts of different finishes on these. This was polished, but you can see that you end up with this white, presumably this will be aluminium or an aluminium alloy, and you get that white corrosion on, which is fine. You know, it's not really doing anything. It's an aluminium oxide. You just need to clean it off. I've seen these painted as well, I think. I'll look, and I'm going to try and put this one back to as original as I can. So I've got wheels, by the way. These were in quite bad condition when I got this bike. So what I did is I had the wheels painted, and then I myself went round, and I've done this on a few bikes now. It's really easy to do. If it sounds complicated, it isn't. Have the whole, this is the cheapest way to do, have the whole wheel painted, just say paint it away, and then yourself just go around and polish these lines in. It's so easy. That looks like I missed a bit there, but it's not difficult to do, and it's quick to do as well. If it sounds like it's going to take a long time, it just doesn't, because the paint's not that hard. This is the gear lever. So I think this was just a cheap copy. So I'll have a think about this, because what I could do is if I just remove some of these sharp edges and then have it sent for galvanizing and drab olive green passivating. I'll have a think about that. So this is the other side main rider footrest. So this one, it differs to the other one in that it flicks down. So the other one will stop up, this one flicks down. The reason why the other one flicks down, stops up obviously, is to clear the kickstart. Unfortunately, you live and learn. At the moment the powder coat looks pretty good. Nice and easy to take off. Nightmare to put back on, but there you go. Let's put that back in there. Right. the clip which holds the throttle cable, and as you can see it's a little bit corroded, so I'll send this for plating as well. This is the water temperature sender. I've had all sorts of problems with this in the past. This is the holder for the indicator tilt switch off unit over here on this side. So we take this off. I've never been able to get that tilt thing to work. I don't know whether it. I've tried a couple of units and they all seem to do the same thing. So I just don't know. Maybe you've got to be, you know, racing bike and, you know, have the thing your knee down. I've never been able. When you do have your bike powder coated, you're going to find that most of the, if not all, of the threaded holes are going to be blocked with powder coat, so just tap them out. Okay. I mean, there is stuff you can put in them to stop it from powder, but I'll be honest with you, just tap them out. This has got a very nice wiring loom, one of the nicest ones I've seen. I can make my own looms. The problem's always the switch is these plugs. I don't know if you can see, but these plugs look brand new. I mean, I have some plugs, but not all of them. That's a coil. It looks okay. Looks pretty good. So there are some nice design parts to this bike. I mean, this idea here to hold the loom in, it's just really nice. You know, most bikes you're just really struggling to have it neatly move around the headstock, but on this bike it's just really nice. They've done a good job on that. I don't know how well you can see there, but this is what we traditionally call a Phillips, well, I think anyone calls a Phillips screwdriver, at the crosshead. These are what are called posi drive screwdrivers, and as you can see they're a much sharper angle, and they also have these additional flutes here. And for posi screws, their purchase on these is really good. They're a really good screwdriver, but if you use these with a Phillips head, you're almost certainly going to round them off, so just be very careful. Make sure you get a proper Phillips screwdriver on these older bikes. This is a plastic cover, so these are really cheap. I wouldn't be overly concerned. So that's giving us access to the adjustment. These are tight because if you're new to building bikes and you're a bit concerned about where these screws go, is you can get a piece of cardboard or even a piece of paper, draw out what it is that you're taking off, and literally push the screws through where they should go on the actual piece. It's a really good idea. I don't do it. I have done it. And I think if it was super complex and there was bits everywhere, I'm sure I would do it. So there's a little, it's just to stop oil and crap being thrown into other parts of the bike. Yeah, so that's a clutch cable connected on there, and this bike's nice and easy. So you just lift this out of this groove here and just let it drop. It looks in pretty good condition. There's no obvious play. In fact, it's extremely good condition because it was more than likely new when it went on. So I'm not going to do anything to this. This thing just pulls out, and that's out separate now. So we'll give it a nice good clean. The cable splits into three. The throttle cable, two go to the carburetors and the other one goes to the pump and changes the amount. For all bikes you can buy replacement cables, okay, and you can have problems with them, okay, because the lengths aren't quite right. So it is, if you're going to do this, it is worth you getting into being able to make your own cables, okay. It is, you know, even if it's either to make them or to modify them, okay. It's a company whose name escapes me at the moment, but they supply all the bits, readily available, really so simple to do, and my God, does it save a lot of time, because you know, sometimes you pick up the cable compared to the old one and think, oh God, this isn't too close. You know, if you try and mess about trying to get it to fit, you can spend hours and hours and hours with a poorly running bike. Change the cable to the correct size and away you go. So strongly recommend that you learn about how to make your own cables. It saves so much time in the future.